closely match the color of your paint. Since primer is less expensive than paint, using a tinted primer can help you cut down on the number of paint coats needed and save you money. If you've made wall repairs, spackle, and especially drywall compound will draw out the moisture from the paint, giving the area a dull look that is different from the rest of the wall. Priming will prevent this problem since you'll be painting directly over the primer and not the repair material. When applying your primer, start by painting in 3-foot by 3-foot sections. Roll in one section at a time, moving from top to bottom and from one side of the wall to the other. With a fully loaded roller, work top to bottom, rolling back and forth across the wall in a series of V or W-shaped strokes until the section is covered. Reload your roller and paint the next section, covering only as much as you can finish while the primer is still wet. Always overlap areas of wet primer. This is a painting technique the pros call working to a wet edge. The technique helps prevent streaking. After the primer is completely dry, lightly sand away bumps, ridges, and other surface imperfections using very fine grit sandpaper folded into quarters. When the grit of one section becomes covered with paint dust, switch to an unused section and continue. Wipe the wall clean with a damp towel or sponge and allow it to dry. Before starting any paint job, it's always a good idea to remix your paint using a mixing stick or a paint mixing tool. You should do this anytime you leave your paint sitting for an extended period of time. The first step in painting your walls is to use a good quality paintbrush and cut in the room again, this time with your paint. If you left your painter's tape on after priming, you can just paint over it again. If you removed your painter's tape, you'll need to reapply it before starting. A foolproof way of achieving clean and even paint edges is to avoid loading the brush down with too much paint. The excess has to go somewhere and will probably end up where it doesn't belong. Begin painting by brushing onto the wall first and not the tape. Brush back and forth until most of the paint has been applied. Then, when there's just a bit of paint left on the brush, paint the area next to the tape and overlap your strokes onto the tape. That way, there will only be enough paint left on the brush to cover the remaining unpainted wall surface, and there won't be enough to seep under the tape. To apply your top coat of paint, follow the exact same process and techniques used